Hello and welcome to the Daily Mill for Friday the 13th of December 2024. In today's Mill news, we've got a couple of pieces, quite long pieces, about Neil Harris's tenure coming to an end at Millwall. We're going to start with the first one from bbc.co.uk/sport/football. Chapter ends in one of football's great romances. Hello. And so, the latest chapter in one of English football's longest romances draws to a close. Neil Harris's partnership with Millwall began more than 26 years ago. Since then, the world has entered a new millennium. Usain Bolt has become the fastest person in human history and broken his own record twice. A website called YouTube was created. Hello, you're watching me here. And the England men's football team still haven't won a major tournament. While at the Den, Harris has cemented himself as an undisputed club legend across 5 separate stints as a player and manager. But when the full-time whistle sounds on Saturday following their championship game at Middlesbrough, Harris will depart as boss for a second time. The football club has been hugely important to him because he gave him the chance to play in the Football League and gave him a chance to become a club legend. BBC Radio London commentator Phil Parry said, "I like that guy. I like Phil Parry. You know him if you hear him. He does the games on Radio London. It's given him so much, but he's given the club so much as well. The 47-year-old is the Lions' all-time leading goal scorer of 138 goals. He achieved promotion to the Championship on the pitch and on the touchline, and was part of the team that made it to the FA Cup final in 2004. Oh, they should have a statue of him outside the ground," said Harris's former Mill teammate Steve Morrison. "Everything he's done for that football club, has been amazing." Harris first joined Millwall in March 1998 as a 20-year-old from non-league Cambridge City, with the London club in the old second division, now League One. He scored 25 goals in his first full season, proving himself to be a lethal finisher. He hit another 27 goals as the Lions were promoted to the second tier the following season. Well, we won the league. Don't bury the lead. His work rate suited what Millwall was about, said Parry, who has covered the club since 2000. He was a good player and a good finisher, but he would work hard for the team as well. Harris was diagnosed with testicular cancer at the age of 23, but returned to football after successful surgery. His first spell at the club ended in 2004 as he left for Nottingham Forest, having scored 98 goals in 270 appearances. But not before he started in the FA Cup final in Cardiff, where the Lions were beaten 3-0 by a Manchester United side containing Paul Scholes, Ruud van Nistelrooy, and a young Cristiano Ronaldo, who absolutely skinned Robbie Ryan, and managed by Sir Alex Ferguson. Harris returned from Forest for his second chapter at the Den 3 years later, by which time the late John Berylson had taken over at the club and quickly broke Teddy Sheringham's record of 93 Millwall goals in the EFL. Morrison arrived in 2009 and was taken under Harris's wing. He said as the pair started up front together in the League One player final victory over Swindon Town, courtesy of Paul Robinson's goal. Both players left in 2011, with Harris moving to Southend United and Morrison to Norwich City. But when Harris returned again as head coach, he played a big role in bringing Morrison back. "Oh, the football club as a whole, Neil was a massive part of that," Morrison said. "But the fact that the first person I called when I was asked to leave Leeds was John and Neil, and they both said, 'How quick can you get down the M1?' I said, 'I'm halfway down,' and they made it work. Him and the football club go hand in hand, the person they turned to when they needed the most this time. It was great for me, and he's now, if I want to, pick up the phone." Morrison scored the winning goals. Mill beat Bradford City to again seal promotion to the Championship in 2016-17. Both men again left South East London in 2019 as Morrison moved to Shrewsbury Town and Harris joined Cardiff City. Following spells with the Bluebirds and Gillingham, Harris joined Cambridge United as a head coach in December 2023 but was again tempted back to his spiritual home 3 months later at the end of Joe Edwards' ill-fated spell in charge with the club 21st in the Championship. The Lions won 8 of their remaining 13 games, including their final 5 matches of the season, to propel them away from the relegation zone to a 13th place finish. Now, the fact that he saved us from relegation last season was, for me, as huge an achievement as any promotion, because under Joe Edwards, we were doomed. We were looking downwards and only going in one direction. Acton Mill podcast presenter Nick Hart told BBC Radio London. Harris has won 15 of his 34 matches in charge during his third spell, with a winning ratio of 44.1%. We'll get onto that in a minute. A 9-game unbeaten run that included impressive 1-0 wins against promotion chasers Burnley and Leeds ended in defeat against Coventry, and Mill now have no wins in 5, although 3 of those are draws. They're currently 13th in the table. But with his contract set to expire at the end of the season, Harris has decided that now is the time to step aside. Speaking on Tuesday after the announcement, Hart said signs of a disconnect at the club were apparent, despite admitting he'd been stunned by the news. Oh, this has been bubbling away, the backstage stuff has been kicking around all season, he said. We've had some odd selections at the start of the season where Neil didn't name a full substitutes bench because he said he didn't have the personnel to work with. There have been some disputes, I think, possibly some personality clashes about the signings that have been made. I think it's a fundamental clash between Neil wanting to turn out the best 11 he can and win football matches and progress up the table versus the club's desire to become a developer of talent that you sell on at the appropriate moment. Often those two things can be at odds with each other, and I think that's what lies behind this. It's a shame. Neil is a huge figure at the club. He's a massive position in club history, and it's very sad. I think it's sad it's got to this stage. Harris's comments after his final home game in post match, like they're using their own lingo. In post means in the post match press conference, but they just say in post to each other. But if you're a reader, the layman, you don't know what that means. It's the post. So final home game in post on Wednesday. A 1-0 defeat by league leaders Sheffield United appeared to back up Hart's theory. What I think I've probably done, and emphasised to everybody, says, look, it's fine having some young players with not a lot of football knowledge, but to be successful here, as in Millwall Football Club, you have to have Millwall knowledge, so it's getting a balance between the two, having young players with raw ability and having real Millwall knowledge as well. The Millwall way is something that is referenced a lot in interviews and press conferences this season, winning duels and headers, applying maximum effort. But it appears the club has been preparing itself to go in a new direction under James Berylson, son of John Berylson. The appointment of Edwards, a respected coach who was untested in a head role, was a clear indication of intent to play more expansive football after the Gary Rowett era. But that failed venture lasted just 19 matches, and the most familiar faces in Harris drafted in to save the day. Now he's leaving again. The club has a big decision to get right. He revealed he had told the players and staff he was leaving at the club's training ground on Tuesday, and had been moved by the response, saying there had been quite a few grown men crying. Probably Tom Bradshaw, because I doubt he'll be playing anymore. Oh no, it's been a mega time. 10 months, it's been immense. 25 years. It's been amazing for me. And my family here, privileged to be the Millwall manager. And the time is right, for me to part ways and leave the mantle for someone else to pick up and drag the club forward. Harris said for now he was looking forward to spending Christmas with his family. But Parry said it would be no surprise to see Mr. Mill back at the Den in some capacity in the future. Oh, Mill got under Neil's skin. He went away as a player, he came back, and he went away as a manager, and he came back. This is so long, but I don't think it's a goodbye. It wouldn't surprise anyone if Mill find themselves in a difficult situation in the future. Neil was available, that they wouldn't turn to him to come and do something. It's his football club. I very much doubt that. Neil Harris has said, so this is public knowledge, and we all know this, that he made a promise. he gave his word to John Berylson, the late John Berylson, that if the club was in trouble, he would come back to help. And that, you want to use the word debt, but it's not debt, it's that oath, that promise has been fulfilled. You know, it's now a blank slate. And there is no obligation, there is no more debt. Although, it, for most people, they say things and they don't mean them, and they don't have the moral fortitude to back it up. They just say what they think people want to hear, and then, that's all good. But when push comes to shove, they don't do what they need to do, or they don't back up their words with actions. And it's very clear that Neil Harris backed up his words to John Berylson with actions. And he did what he had to do to save the club from relegation. And he did that. So there it is. And does that mean he might come back in the future? I don't know. Maybe. There was some talk in the summer that after he'd done such an amazing job, that was the time then to move on. But obviously, for some reason, they gave him the 18-month contract. Maybe he insisted on that. He didn't just want... And this is the thing as well. With his contract ending at the end of the season, the players... who are they playing for? They're playing for Neil Harris, but he's not going to be here next season. That wasn't going to be the thing anyway. They knew his contract was... And you see this all over football, that when a manager's contract is going to run out at that season, and it hasn't been extended, the players start to get a bit itchy, and they start to just play up and not doing their jobs properly, which is weird, but, that's a thing that happens. So, I guess maybe that's a kind of similar thing that happened here. I don't know. But yeah. I don't think Neil Harris may be coming back. Like I said, in the summer, there was some talk that, maybe he could move up to be director of football. Because at that moment, when was it? May? Was it May? Summer, in May, that Kavanagh, Aldo, and Billy Taylor were fired or let go. And then, how about Neil Harris becomes a director of football? And we'll see how that goes. But that didn't happen. I guess, I don't know, obviously, they're trying to do this thing where they bring in the young players and then they move them on. And there's been some debate about that, in terms of, well, if we're trying to bring in players and then sell them onto the Premier League players have to be a certain kind. They're not really the Championship standard style of play that we're playing. So I think realistically, what we probably going to turn out to be is more like the Championship version of Peterborough. Peterborough United, they bring players in from non-league, late developers and whatnot, and they generally sell them on for a lot more than they brought them in for. So that's something that we can do, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we're bringing players to sell into the Premier League. We're bringing players in just to sell them on to other clubs who have more money than us, which most of the teams in the Championship have more money than us. You can see Fleming left, and he went to Burnley, who they're in this league. But apparently they're paying $7 million for him. If the deal goes through, if he meets the criteria for the loan obligation to kick in. So it's not just about bringing players in and then getting them into the Premier League. It's about bringing players in and just getting them on, moving them on to any other club that has more money than us and more sense than us, and will buy them off of us for a lot more money than we bought them for. So yeah, that's the plan, and I guess they don't trust Neil Harris with doing that. in terms of him being the director of football. We'll see, you know. We'll see how that works out. Now, we also have this, which is another long piece, written by Richard Corley of the LondonNewsOnline.co.uk, which is the South London Press. It says Neil Harris's return to Millwall was a success story. Yet again, he leaves on his own terms. The news of Neil Harris's Millwall departure came less than 2 days before his nomination for November's Championship Manager of the Month. And if you're going to go, do it in style. Got an update on that. He didn't get it. Tanganga didn't get his either. I think it was Chris Wilder for the managers. I'm not sure who the player was. It may have been Azaz. Is it Azaz or Aziz? Finn Azaz? Let's get one thing clear. The return of Harris to the stricken South London club in February has been a total success. The Lions' record all-time goal scorer came back with the club in urgent need of positive results, and he kept getting them. Not just in the short term when it was required to stave off the looming feeling of doom as Millwall lurched towards the Championship trapdoor under predecessor Joe Edwards, but right up to the point that it was announced his 10-month spell was coming to an end. At the time of Harris's exit being confirmed, only Leeds United and Middlesbrough had banked more points than Millwall 51 since he took over the head coach reins. Before Wednesday's home game against Sheffield United, his last in the Den dugout, the Lions were averaging 1.64 points per game. If that was extrapolated across the whole campaign, then Millwall would collect 75 points, enough to get you in the top 6 in the last 3 seasons. Now, we will never know what Harris, whose 18-month deal ran until next summer, would have gone on to achieve. He is a man who's shown before that he leaves Millwall on his own terms. He did exactly that in October 2019, but not before leading them to League One playoff glory in 2017, 2 FA Cup quarter-finals, and also a 17-game unbeaten run ended by Fulham in April 2018. I don't know what that's got to do with it. Well, I do, because Richard Corley is a Fulham fan. Hey! That took them close to reaching the Championship playoffs before cruelly missing out. Now again, Harris has chosen the timing of his exit. What has been clear is that there has been a change in dynamics at Millwall since the summer overhaul of senior staff, and the landscape has changed. Long-serving Chief Executive Steve Kavanagh, Head of Football Operations Alex Aldridge, and Chief Operating Officer Billy Taylor lost their jobs at the start of May. So Neil Harris's rescue mission last season, all of these guys were still there. This season, not so. Owner James Berylson, who took over running the club after his father John was killed in a car accident in July 2023, appointed Steve Gallen as the Director of Football. Berylson talked in September about the importance of Millwall signing players that had a long-term value. He stated his determination to have a consistent process for identifying, acquiring, developing talent, and when the opportunity presents itself and makes sense for club and player to sell on, will allow Millwall to compete at a high level as well as being financially sustainable going forward. The plan is to buy young players that are not fully refined but also have the chance of eventually being sold for far greater sums. Mihailo Ivanovic, Femi Aziz and Dan Kelly, all signed for fees in the summer transfer window, are prime examples of that. Romain Esse, a constant fixture of Harris's side this season, might be one of the first to test to drive the new model. Crystal Palace have extensively watched the 19-year-old. Their sporting director, Dougie Friedman, has been in attendance at the Den more than once, who has an 8-figure release clause in his massively improved contract he penned in August. It's the classic Brentford model. Buy, sell at big profit, reinvest and bring up the quality of the playing roster as you go along. It sounds so simple. Executing it is another ball game entirely. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be as slick as the Brentford model. It might be more like the Peterborough model. That's not me for 1 second saying that Mill's model will fail. The direction we as a club want to heading is clear, and the next head coach will play a pivotal role in helping us execute our strategy, said Gallen as part of the official statement officially breaking the Harris development. It underlined the next appointment will be a head coach who fully embraces the structure. When Harris was at Millwall in his previous incarnation, the job title was different, manager, and so too was his influence over transfers. This time around, he made it clear that as head coach he did not have anywhere near as such a major say. I always found him to be someone who carefully measured his words publicly, and yet there were plenty of more edgy post-match press conferences just as the current campaign started, only intensifying before transfer deadline day. Indeed, it was very uncharacteristic what he was saying, and you could see that something was wrong. Young players take time to develop, and it's no secret that Serbian striker Ivanovic, a £3 million club record signing at the end of the summer transfer window from Vojvodina, and Kelly, a long-term target as his Celtic deal ran down, were not ones that Harris was clamouring for. Harris revealed after the 3-0 win over Sheffield Wednesday on August 31st that Ivanovic, 19 at the time, would not feature for 2 months due to injuries, and that timescale was slightly wrong as the new recruit debuted on September the 21st at QPR. The same could also be said for Macaulay Langstaff, who made the jump from League Two. The Notts County striker struggled to command game time until injuries reduced Harris's frontline options. Adama Maku is another seen by the Millwall hierarchy as a prospect who could have a high ceiling. Harris felt the young Irishman should have been loaned out in January 2024 because of how raw he still is. Maku was lined up to go to Wickham in the last window, only for that deal to collapse when a deal bringing in Fulham's Martial Godo fell through on deadline day. So that was a rumour. Obviously, that wasn't confirmed, but that was a rumour that Maku was going to go out on loan. But we did hear the name of this Fulham winger. So they were loaning out our youngster and loaning in a replacement youngster from a Premier League team. Another major sore point was the late loss of Zion Flynn to Burnley. By the time the Currents made their move, helicoptering the Amsterdam-born playmaker up to Lancashire, Mill had no time to bring in a replacement at number 10. It's not to say there was no give and take in relation to deals. Sean Hutchinson, who Harris wanted to retain, was eventually handed a 12-month deal after initially being announced by the club as not being retained. Jafet Tanganga was a no-brainer to get signed up and has played excellently. A number of other Championship clubs now ruining the fact that he did not move to the centre-back when he was released by Tottenham. Middlesbrough loanee Josh Coburn was certainly a deal that met with Harris's approval. Harris values players that have experience and are street smarts that they don't get pickpocketed by more seasoned Championship hustlers. There is plenty of that in the squad, at least for the time being, with Ryan Leonard, Jules Saville, George Honeyman and Duncan Watmore all important mainstays of his starting 11. But equally, SA's emergence, being integrated in the first team over an 18-month period to become one of the Championship's hottest properties, shows that Harris was not opposed to youth, especially once they could be trusted to perform offensive and defensive duties. Garrett did the same in terms of working with players that had decent totals of matches under their belt. It can't be a coincidence that both have had lengthy careers in management. Harris was booed by a section of the travelling support after the recent 1-1 draw at Oxford that made it 9 matches undefeated in the Championship. He was accused of showing too much loyalty and faith in Tom Bradshaw instead of turning to Langstaff or Ivanovic. Well, it's not loyalty or faith. It's that Tom Bradshaw is he doesn't look as good as he used to look. And you can point and say, well, yeah, he's coming back from injury. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's not that he's not match fit. He's lost it. But should his judgment be doubted, Harris sees his players in training every day and all the nuances that come into the selection. When it comes to judging whether a player was going to be a Mill type, his record stood up extremely well. No surprise with 281 matches in charge of the Lions, not to mention 432 appearances as a player, the 4th most in the club's history. It seemed Harris was close to quitting at the end of the summer transfer window, but loyalty to staff, some of whom he had brought in, and his connection to the players won out, and it must have been enjoyable putting together the results that took Millwall into the playoff zone 5th after a 1-0 victory over Leeds on November the 7th. Oh, the way he's galvanised the squad is remarkable, really, Jake Cooper told the club's in-house TV channel at the time. You could also see the sparkle in his eyes and happiness when he spoke to the media after that 2-1 win at Southampton in February, his first game back in charge. Football is all about opinions and decisions. Some matter more than most. Manager, director of football, chairman or an ownership group being at the top of that list. Harris has made his decision. Now Berylson and Gallen will make their decision about who comes in next. Only the passing of time will allow anyone to judge how successful the next chapter is. Harris has twice returned to the club he is forever connected with and left it in a better place. A hat-trick, something he has plenty of in his day, is unlikely to happen, but his legacy is secure. One day there might be a statue. Hard not to feel like he deserves it. There's a lot into that. Like, I don't have time to digest all of that, but you know, that's a very serious piece, and we're going to look at the history. So this is from the fantastic website millwall-history.org.uk. What we have here is, as it says, a chronological list of Mill managers and records since entry to the Football League in 1920. Okay? And it's in chronological order. But the good thing about this list is we can sort it. And we're going to sort it. And we're going to sort it by games won. We do that. And you can see the Mill manager that's won the most games is Bob Hunter. But he's played the most games, or he's managed the most games. He managed 571 games. But we also have a percentage here, so we can click on that, and we can sort it by win percentage. Now, this gets interesting. We have, at the top, three anomalies, really. We got Ray Harford and Steve Gritt, who managed 2 games and won both of them. So that's 100%, but that's a very small sample size, just 2 games. Then you got Theo Foley in his first spell in October 1974. As manager for 13 days, played 2 games, won one of them. That's 50% win rate. And then you've got 2006 at the end of the season. You've got 2 games, 1 win. That's 50%. That's Alan McCleary and Tony Burns. But then we get onto the real meat of the matter. You get Billy Gray from 1963 to 1966. 138 games, 168 of them. That's a 49.28% win rate. So that's the first. So that, you could say, is the best, one of the best Mill managers ever. Maybe he just had good players. But look who's next. Now, for Theo Foley and Charlie Hewitt and Ron Gray, and John Doherty, it's got first spell, second spell. This hasn't been updated. It does have Neil Harris's first spell and current spell, but he hasn't put the in parentheses first spell, second spell. But I'll show you it. There he is. That's what it looks like. So this is current spell. This one here, the orange one. February 2024, 22nd of February to this day. 31 games, 15 wins, 48.39 win rate. Okay. Goal difference of +10. So when we win, we win, and when we lose, we don't lose by a lot of goals. +10 goal difference. And then you've got various other managers who a lot of Mill fans would consider some of the best. George Graham, Mark McGee, who won a league. We haven't won many leagues. I think we've only won 5 leagues. Keith Stevens and Alan McCleary at the time, obviously, although they were in the 3rd division. Charlie Hewitt, Kenny Jackett, Bob Hunter, Willie Donahue, Neil Harris. The first time he was here. First spell. 4 years, 6 months, 24 days. So you would say that he's improved, because the last spell, which included, games in League One and the Championship, 244 games managed, 102 wins. That's a win rate of 41.63. Goal difference of +42. So this is Neil Harris as a Mill manager. 41% win rate, and right now 48.39. Now, I don't know how up to date this is. I don't know if it takes into account the Sheffield United game. Certainly, obviously, there is one more game to come, and is that going to be win number 16 in this current Neil Harris spell in charge? We wait to see. But we now have to move on from Neil Harris. But you can see here, this is a winner. This is a guy who knows how to win. Is that not good enough? Obviously, we're trying to develop players, but that's not the job of the man who oversees the first team. Surely his job is to win first team games of football, not to develop the players. That's what Adam Barrett's for. That's what the other guy, David Livermore's for, isn't it? Is it not? Is that not what Kevin Nugent's for? To some extent, though obviously deals with younger players. There is obviously when you're looking to employ someone these days, there is a thing going around. You may have heard of it, called DEI. DEI. You heard of this? It's diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because you can't just hire the best people for the best jobs. You can't. If you have a job that you're looking to fill, you can't just hire the person you think's the best. Apparently that's bad. Because you need to have a mix of people. Because we know that's what's really important. So instead of hiring someone based on their competency to do the job, you need to consider their gender, their skin colour, their socio-economic upbringing, and other stuff. So when you are selecting someone for a job and you don't select based on competency, you get less competent people employed. Does that make sense? Now, why am I talking about this gibberish? Well, in terms of hiring a Millwall manager to manage the first team and win games, if the point of the football club is now not to win games, but to make money by developing players who come in at a younger age and then move them on, you'll get a manager that doesn't win any games, which we saw with Joe Edwards. That just is how it makes. Like if you are not selecting a Millwall manager for his competency to win games of Championship football, you will win less games of Championship football, which could cause you to be relegated from the Championship. That's a simple statement. So why don't you just hire a special coach to train these prospects as a unit? Give them special training. We have Andy Marshall, who is the goalkeeping coach. The name says what it says on the tin. He is the goalkeeper coach. He trains the goalkeepers, the 3 first team goalkeepers: Connell Truman, Roberts, who I forgot his first name at the moment, and Jensen. So Lucas Jensen, I just remembered his first name. So he trains 3 players from the first team squad. And that's what he does. So why don't you keep Neil Harris, bring in a coach, or obviously you can't force Neil Harris to stay if he doesn't want to stay. I think there's big issues behind the scenes. But why don't you hire a manager to win games of football and then hire a specific coach to mentor to mentor, to specifically train up these, what have we got, like 6 really, like players who are young and are in the first team squad, but not really at the level that we need them to be for them to be playing week in, week out. So obviously Romain Esse, he's up there, but obviously you could do with a bit of a special coaching. But then you've got Ivanovic, and you've got Massey, and you've got Daniel Kelly, and others, Maku. So why don't we just do that? Just select a manager on the competency to win games of football, and hire a specific coach to work with these players day in, day out, to build them up, to get them, give them a greenhousing, hot housing, specific treatment, and let's do that. Because if the role of the head coach is not to win games of football, but to develop players, you're gonna not win as many games of football. It's simple facts. Simple facts. Anyway, gotta move on because I'm just going around in circles, but is that not logically something that makes sense? Obviously, here's the thing, I imagine there's like nobody else is doing that. Though there are clubs that have a striker coach that works with the strikers from the first team. Why can't we have a hot prospect coach who works with the hot prospects? And he can draw up specific training plans that is dictated by the manager, saying, "Oh, I need him to learn this and learn this, and he needs to figure this out because this is a problem." And then that coach goes away, works with these guys, and they figure it out. I don't know, but here's the thing: if you don't have an imagination to think of this, you're not going to think of it. You're just like, there are people, they just copy what other people do. They don't have an original idea in their head. That's how it goes. Anyway, talking of hot prospects, here's one right here. Henry Hearn extends Hornchurch loan. Yes, originally it was a 28-day loan, youth loan, which means it's like work experience. But it means that they're kind of like dual registered, so they can play for that team that they're on loan for, but they can also play for the under-21 team. So it's if they don't get game time, they can come back and play. So yeah, Millwall under-21's striker Henry Hearn has extended the loan spell at Hornchurch for a further 28 days. I mentioned yesterday, was it yesterday? That the under-21s are now on bloody, they got a winter break. They don't play again until January the 7th, so I expected, loans and stuff to be happening, and here we go. Hearn has impressed with his time with the Urchins, scoring just 7 minutes in his debut in the FA Trophy before following up with an equaliser in Hornchurch's 1-1 draw at home to Hampton and Richmond in the Vanarama National League South. The attacker will hope to keep his place in the starting 11 as the Essex outfit head for Eastbourne Borough on Saturday. And you can stay up to date with Henry's progress in the Loan Watch feature. So there you go. Which we're going to bring you right now, but it's not the Loan Watch from Millwall, it's the Loan Watch from Southwark News. I think it's a midweek Loan Watch. Loan Roundup, Millwall forward Banks going back and forth FA Trophy tie. And this is from southwarknews.co.uk. And we're talking about Tom Lee. Tom Lee, he bagged a goal during Wokin's dramatic FA Trophy third round clash against Havant and Waterlooville, with the Cardinals winning 4-2 on penalties after the game finished 3-3. The tie was originally set to be played on Saturday, but was postponed to Tuesday due to Storm Dara. Lee scored Wokin's second goal of the game. Henry Hearn and Hornchurch's National League South tie against Farnborough was also postponed due to the weather. No date has been set for the rescheduled match. Kamal Grant played the full 90 minutes as Bromley overcame Accrington Stanley 2-1 on Saturday. Grant has now made 18 league starts for the Ravens since joining them at the start of the season. Chinook Lee started during Sutton United's FA Trophy third round match against Ebbsfleet United, with Sutton prevailing 4-2 on penalties after a 3-3 draw. Ockley was an unused substitute during their 0-0 draw against Halifax Town on Tuesday. Shamal also announced for Ed Fleet's matchday squad due to injury and also missed the Fleet's 2-0 defeat to Fylde on Tuesday. Kevin Nisbet started up front during Aberdeen's 1-1 draw with St Johnstone, picking up a yellow card. So there you go. Now, here we go. Look at this. This is going to wet your whistle. The draw for the 4th round proper of the FA Youth Cup has been made. And Millwall were in it because they won the last game. They came through after extra time and penalties against Hull City at the Den. And you won't believe if they've got. It's big. It's a big, big team. The biggest, some would say. The draw for the 4th round prop of the FA Youth Cup has been made with ties to be played by Saturday the 18th of January 2025. At this stage of the competition, when a match is drawn after 90 minutes, an extra 30 minutes of extra time shall be played. 15 minutes in each half. Of course. If the score remains level after extra time, the winner shall be determined by a penalty shootout. For season 24-25, players must have been born on or after the 1st of September 2006 and before the 1st of September 2009 to be eligible to play. Can you see the Millwall name yet? Can you see them? No, because we're the last name there. We were literally the last name in the pot. Tie number 16. Manchester City versus Millwall. Yes, Manchester City versus Millwall. Probably sometime in January. We wait to see. It's a midweek game. It's a fixture. These games are always night games. 7 o'clock kickoff is the standard at this level, especially with the extra time and penalty shootout possibility. It's not going to be played at the Etihad or whatever it's called now, the City Stadium. There's a stadium next door to that they use for the youth academy, and I think that's even that's got like 10,000 seats, so it'll be in that stadium. But still, Man City, tough game, tough game. But good day out, and if you win it, oh my God, can you imagine if we win it? What an amazing, you want to talk about, promoting talent, promoting the youth team. We beat Man City because they're actually pretty good. This is the table for the under-18 Premier League. They're second in the table. They played 10 games. They've won 8. They've drawn 1. They've lost 1. They've scored 42 goals, which is an average of 4.2 per game. Oh my goodness. They've only conceded 9 goals, which is less than 1 per game. Oh my goodness. And even though their stats are outstanding, they're still 5 points behind Manchester United. I believe that Manchester United might have the Rooney kid in it, Kai Rooney. Or maybe that's just a bit, maybe he's not at under 18 level yet, but he's there or thereabouts. So, and they're unbeaten. Hell, not unbeaten, but they've won every game. So, yeah, this is not an easy game. The one thing we could hope for is obviously, I believe they're playing in European competitions as well, so they might be a bit fatigued. Maybe, if we can push the game back to as late as possible, maybe some of the star players in this team, it might be decided, well, why keep them around to play in the FA Youth Cup? Send them out on loan. And that might weaken the team just a little bit, that we might get a foot in there, that we can get, do something. But it's going to be a very, 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 very tough game. Very tough game. So, there you go. Manchester City versus Millwall in the FA Youth Cup 4th round. Now, talking about this as well. This is the draw. So, this is a community post from YouTube channel The Daily Millwall. Have you heard of it? Mihajlo Ivanovic's Serbia have been drawn against England for their 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying group. So a bit of Millwall interest in that Mihajlo Ivanovic, the Serbian international striker, who currently plays for Millwall Football Club. It looks like they're going to be playing England, which is nice. But I mean, this league is piss poor, and you got to think if you're Serbia, you're looking at this. Obviously, the Albania game. I mean, Serbia and Albania. That's a bit of a tasty one. But you would imagine that Serbia are looking at this, thinking, as long as we don't lose to England, we could get out. We could get out of this group. We could qualify for the World Cup. So yeah, there you go. Andorra, Latvia, Albania, and Serbia, and England. Now we're going to move on to previewing the game tomorrow. There is a game tomorrow. It's been overshadowed, obviously, by the details of what's happening and all the rumours about the next move, which I'm not talking about until after the game tomorrow, because we still have a manager. He's not gone yet, and I'm not going to speculate on all the nonsense that's getting put out there until after he's gone. So, but this game, if you are abroad, as in not in the UK or Ireland, you might not be able to watch it on Mill TV. You're going to have to tune into some of these channels that you're seeing on your screen right now. If you're in any of these countries, so Disney Plus in Chile, in Brazil, in DAZN in Canada. What we got? Denmark is Viaplay Denmark. Estonia is Go Free. Greece is Cosmo Sport. Iceland is Viaplay Iceland. DAZN in Japan. Sayonara. Viaplay Netherlands. You get the drift. You can see Arena Sports 7 in Serbia. So if you're a Millwall fan in any of these countries, if you try to log on and buy a match pass with Millwall TV to watch the game, or even if you got the season ticket, you can't. It's blacked out in your area. So you're going to have to go onto these channels and watch it on that, or use a VPN to get around the geo block that's on you. So there you go. Now, moving on to this, the historical record from 11v11.com of games between Middlesbrough and Millwall. We lose a lot of these games. We've lost a lot. We've lost so many times up at Middlesbrough. So many times. There was a spell in the 1960s, 1965, 1967, 1969 twice. One of them was the FA Cup, where we were unbeaten in 4 games. And strangely repeated itself in 2010, which I think was around a time, I think they got relegated. You remember that crazy season where they got to 2 cup finals and got relegated? The Ravanelli just after that. I think during that time they moved into the new stadium, the Riverside, or was that bit before then? And then we went on a 4-game unbeaten run against him, which was even better because it's 3 wins and a draw. But other than those 2 spells, I mean, it's fucking, there's nothing here. There's nothing here. It's just a sea of red, and if we're lucky, a few draws. A draw in 1987. Obviously, that was a big season. So, and draw in 2019, 1-1 draw, 1-1 draw. 2021, 1-1 draw. Now, last time out, the 5th of August 2023, 1-0 win. Oh, not bad. So, I mean, what was that about? That seems to be the first win that we've had that wasn't part of a run. So you've got these 4-game run here, 4-game run here, and that one-off, was it a one-off? Are we now in another run of a 4-game run? Are we not going to lose tomorrow? Is it going to be a win or a draw? Is this another 4-game run? Because this is the only other win that isn't part of a connected to another sequence of matches. But that's not how the real world works. That's how post ad hoc stats work. Rationalisation of the numbers that you see in front of you. So let's move on to this from WhoScored.com. You can see the last 6 games up at Middlesbrough. 2 have been won by Middlesbrough. 1 have been won by Millwall. And there's been 3 draws. Now, rather sadly, in the 6 games, there's been 7 goals scored by Middlesbrough and only 4 goals scored by Millwall. So it's not a game where a lot of goals get scored, seemingly. Now, interesting, we've had 14 yellow cards and they've only had 8. So that's a lot. And that is a lot. If we go down to this, and obviously that's 7th and we're 13th, seems quite a lot. It's a 6-point gap. It's only a 6-point gap. They are without a win in their last 2 games. We're without a win in the last 5. They've actually lost more games than us. Believe it or not, they have lost more games than us. They've lost 7. We've only lost 6. They played 1 more game than us, so. But they won games, and that's what I keep banging on about. You need to win games. It doesn't matter if you draw games and you're unbeaten. You need to win games. And if you win some games, you'll go up the table. If you don't, you won't. Simple as. So this is the full table. So let's look at the home table. How good are they at home? About the same, aren't they? 8th in the home table. Played 10, won 5, drawn 2, lost 3, 15 goals scored, 11 against. Decent. So it's pretty much the same level as our home form. So if you're familiar with our home form, theirs is the same, except they concede more goals and score more. What about Heart away form? Yeah, we've only won once away all season in 8 games, so that's not good, is it? That's not good, and that was at Swansea. And I think that's the problem with the Oxford game, is that many people saw that as an opportunity to win an away game again this season. And it didn't happen because of choices. So there you go. Form table. Alright, they're 6th in the form table. We're 17th. We've only scored 4 goals in the last 6 games. That seems bad. Now, Middlesbrough seem to be kind of schizophrenic. No offence if you got schizophrenia. They lost 2-0 at home to Bristol City. And then a few days later, they beat Sheffield United at home 1-0. And then the next game after that, they lost at home to Coventry. Although they did have players sent off. I don't know who got sent off. Was it a goalkeeper? That might make a big difference. Was it a striker? I don't know. But then the home game after that, they win 5-1 against Luton. They play very hot and cold, which is maybe good for us because they are literally, they haven't drawn a home game in the last 6. But they lose, they win, they lose, they win, they lose, they win. Oh, what's coming next? Oh, it's a game against Millwall, which, if the pattern follows, they're due to lose. Obviously, Millwall's away form, if they are to lose their game, seems it's probably going to be a 1-0 Millwall win, because we can't score more than 1 goal. That's not what we do right now. You can see in the last 6 away games we've had, we've scored 1 goal in 4 of them. And we failed to score in 2. One of those games that we failed to score in, we managed to get the 0-0 draw because we kept the clean sheet. We only kept a clean sheet in 1 other game in the last 6, and that was away at Swansea. So, make of that what you will. Now, strengths and weaknesses. A lot of strengths of Middlesbrough. But also a few weaknesses. Aerial duels and avoiding offside. Okay. So, moving on to this, the prediction from WhoScored.com. They got quite a few injuries as well, although we have as well. There have been under 2.5 goals scored in Mill's last 12 games in the Championship. Yeah, we know that. Middlesbrough have seen under 2.5 goals scored in 6 of their last 7 home matches against Millwall in all competitions. And Millwall failed to win their last 5 matches in the Championship. Middlesbrough were heading for a respectable away point against promotion chasing Leeds on Tuesday night before late goals from Dan James and Brendan Aronson sent the points the way of the Whites. Michael Carrick will be eyeing a return to winning ways here after recording just one victory from his side's last 4 championship outings. Neil Harris will take charge of his final game as Millwall manager this weekend after announcing that he plans to step down from the role. The Lions were narrowly beaten by league leader Sheffield United on Wednesday night, meaning they travelled to the Riverside Stadium without a win in their last 5 championship outings. And they predict Middlesbrough 2, Millwall 0. Yeah, interesting note. Everyone expected us to be steamrolled by Sheffield United. Didn't happen. And we did play, well, Neil Harris did play so many youngsters that maybe he thought wasn't ready for this level. They didn't half do too bad. In fact, it was one of the oldest members in the squad, namely Joe Bryan, who fucked up for the goal. So, and Tanganga was outstanding. He seemed to be possessed. He seemed to be very energetic in terms of the situation. And he wanted to do something about it. So, shame he didn't score, but, it is what it is. So they say 2-0. Now, moving on to this. From sportsmole.co.uk. And because this has been going on for nearly an hour, I'm just going to skip to their prediction. But you can pause it and read it if you want. It's nothing to do with me. So, they say Middlesbrough 1, Millwall 1. Millwall will want to end the Harris era on a high and will move to within 3 points of Middlesbrough of the standings if they win at Riverside Stadium this weekend. Although Millwall will be motivated to get the 3 points, we think that this game ends in a draw. The visitors have more draws than wins so far this season, and they are capable of getting a point on Saturday. Before I started to record this video, I thought that, this is going to be an easy Middlesbrough win. I was thinking maybe 2-0 to Middlesbrough. But after seeing some of the things that I've seen, I think we might win this 1-0. I think it's going to be Middlesbrough 0, Millwall 1. So there you go. Hopefully. We'll see how it turns out. And on that note, thank you for watching, and goodbye.